Hi, I'm Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Texas is facing a crisis. People in our state are overdosing and dying from fentanyl. Texas drug overdose deaths have increased more than 75% during the past 5 years alone. Last year, fentanyl poisoning deaths made up nearly 80% of all opioid deaths. Often, these tragic deaths are accidental overdoses. Some people may think they are taking a conventional pharmaceutical painkiller. Some may think they are taking another type of drug for recreational use. The reality is, many people don't even know that they're consuming fentanyl. Fentanyl is so potent and so deadly, one pill can kill.
She was an amazing writer. She was a debater. She was very, very close to her sister. They were best friends. So she was one of the very limited students who were accepted into the Moody School of Communications here at the University of Texas. Because she wasn't in the top 6%, I anticipate she wrote a pretty compelling paper to get in there. Yeah, she did, however, struggle a bit with depression and anxiety, especially anxiety. And really it was just a normal week. There wasn't anything outstanding about it. She worked at a small restaurant in Bee Cave. She worked probably till about 10 o'clock, maybe somewhere around there. And that night, you know, she stopped actually on the way home from work and purchased a Xanax because she didn't have any of her medicine because she wanted to get some sleep and she had had such a stressful day. She came home and she's like, I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna grab a salad and go into my bedroom. And the next morning, her and my husband were still sleeping. And then when he woke up, he found her dead in her bed. I actually called my husband. That was when he told me, Savannah's dead. He was screaming it, and I just kind of fell, became limp. It was horrible. It is hard, because she was just a normal kid, and I know she didn't want to die. I mean, she had challenges, but she was looking forward to the future. We actually found out, I think, from the toxicology report that there was actually no Xanax in her system. So the actual pill she got was, I think, fentanyl, xylazine, and some other filler.
So Tucker is my firstborn, my only son. He loved nature. He loved being outside. And Tucker was born with just such an adventurous heart. He went to a New Year's Eve party, and he was offered a pill at this party. And that was the first time that he was exposed to a fentanyl-laced pill. I think he liked how that pill made him feel. He had been, experimenting with these pills, and really I think what he had created was a substance use. Like his body needed that to function. Over the next 6 months, he went to 2 treatment centers where he was working on his recovery. And little did I know that we were in a fight for his life. He was training for a triathlon with his dad. The week of his triathlon, I had talked to him, and he had told me that he was struggling with anxiety again. And he came over, and I had sent him home with a bunch of food that I had made that evening. And he was very loving that night. He laid his head in my lap on the couch, and he stood with his arm around me when we were at the door talking. And I walked him out to the front porch and sent him home with his food for the next few days before his triathlon. And the next morning came, and he did not show up to work. And I drove to his house, and when I turned the corner, his streets were lined with police officers, and they did not have any lights on. And I pulled behind a detective who was getting out of the car, and he was putting on blue gloves. And I just said, my baby's gone. And it's every parent's worst nightmare. it will consume them until it takes their life. And it's not a matter of will it take their life, it's when. Quite honestly, I think he just wanted a good night's sleep, because the withdrawals from these are so strong and so painful. Had I known what I know now, I would have been able to help him.
He was the kind of kid, I had an uncle tell me one time, he's the boy that every dad would want, because he was could talk sports, he could talk anything. He was just super smart and very athletic, and he loved Lake Travis. That was his passion. First of all, he worked out ferociously every day, and so he would overwork himself and have either, just really sore muscles, and but he did have an injury. He broke his elbow, and he had a head injury, and of course every time you come out of the hospital they send you home with a prescription. So he would easily get addicted to them, and he would get off of them and go on with his life, and then for whatever reason, he would seek them out again. During COVID, of course, all the restaurants shut down, the bars shut down, and he started working for me, doing sales and marketing, and was doing a great job, but I think he fell into depression. So before I got to find him a doctor, he went away for the weekend to go surfing. And so on Sunday, I assumed he was coming back Sunday. On Monday, he wasn't returning my phone calls and wasn't returning emails, and I thought, well, maybe he just stayed an extra day. So I drove over to his place. I pulled in the parking lot. There was his truck, there was his company vehicle, and it's still in my mind. I'm thinking he went with a friend, and they're just having fun. And went inside. Everything was very neat and tidy, and I called out his name, didn't see him, went to every room. And the last room I checked was the bathroom, and he was on the bathroom floor. The police came. And they wouldn't let me see him after that. 90 days later, his toxicology showed that he had taken a Valium that was mostly fentanyl. I do know my son well enough that he didn't take chances like that he wouldn't have taken, I believe, that pill had he known fentanyl in it. So that's what I'm so angry about. Why didn't everybody know about it? If we could have known about it, I could have talked to him, and I didn't know anything about it.
Spencer, he loved adventure. So he was like a really easy companion. He was just a great companion. He was up for anything, whether it was cooking or new food or new restaurant. I don't know that it was fentanyl that he was even after. I think it was just anything, whatever. He just was a teenager willing to take risks, not knowing that he was gambling with his life. Spencer was struggling. He had some virtual reality goggles, and he traded those for 10 Percocet pills. And the drug dealer brought them to the neighborhood pool, like curbside delivery. So that night, we know he took 2 of the pills. The next morning, his mom found him dead in his bedroom. The guy probably said, "Hey, I have these. You want some weed, but hey, look what else I have. Why don't you try these?" And he did. It's in everything. There's no real heroin anymore. There's no real, cocaine anymore. There's no, it's just so dangerous. It's like, it's in everything. It's all synthetic. And so I don't know how long a kid does this, it's just they're either going to be lucky or they're not going to be lucky.
Sports, was definitely a big part of our life. Tyler was a baseball player, so we spent every weekend, it seemed, on the field. Kind of the theme when you talk to people who knew and loved him, his friends and family, the smile was just something that drew people in. He was so magnetic. He began going to school at Texas State, and he had some great people that he met, but also got exposed to new things outside of just alcohol and marijuana. So Xanax bars, the pressed synthetic Xanax bars, he began using those, I believe by accident. He was drinking beer, and they were putting them in a beer bong, and that became, his drug of choice. Alcohol became less important, and Xanax bars were more important. Come into the spring, and I get a call. He's with a friend, and he's like, "Mom, I need help." So my husband and I, in the middle of the night, drove up to my old dorm and packed him up and checked him into rehab. That was his first rehab at 19. There was still the seeking out of escaping stress, escaping disappointment. COVID happened, and he lost his job like so many others did. And so he went back to using, and heroin became an issue. So we almost lost him a couple times, one time on Mother's Day. He chose to go into a sober living house, and then the withdrawals were just horrific. And it's still just, he just couldn't cope. And so he went looking for it again. And so he disappears, probably 40, 50 minutes, goes into the bathroom. And he died alone on the bathroom floor in his sober house. I'll never forget the call on that Wednesday night. I didn't know if it was going to be fentanyl. I didn't know if it was going to be heroin. I didn't know if it was going to be both. And it was both.
It set me on a path with prescription opioids that changed the rest of my life. And in that time period, there was so much stigma surrounding it that I just chose to kind of tuck my tail and run.
I mean, I'd say I was given every opportunity in life, and I had all the potential in the world. I can't really pinpoint any reason as to why I chose the path I did. I was curious. I also had a lot of insecurities, and I felt like, outside validation and drugs helped me, cope with those things.
But I found myself doing heroin and then eventually fentanyl. I mean, fentanyl's in everything. It's in everything. So these kids have to understand that just because it says M30 and looks like one, the chances of it being a real M30 oxycodone are slim to none.
Now that you can just outfit anything in a pill, what people don't realize is that in there is the end of eternity.
I kind of believe that our generation is the last generation of opioid addicts. Now, I mean, even in the treatment facility I ended up working in, it used to be flooded with fentanyl clients. Now they're mostly alcohol and other things because people are just dropping.
And so for me, what it came down to was, I hate to use the cliche, but I was just sick and tired. And then additionally, I was about to be responsible for another human being.
I went to the hospital, and I'd been getting sick. My legs were really swollen, couldn't breathe. Went to the hospital, found out that I was pregnant and that I had to have open heart surgery. I was like, wow, the one thing that I've never messed up is being a mom. Never. I've never been pregnant. His family reached out and gave us an opportunity to go to rehab, and we went, and we've been sober ever since.
It started in high school, and I look back now and I wish I tried harder in high school. I wish I wasn't into drugs. I wish that I just really buckled down and did something with high school and went to college. But instead, I just started smoking weed every day. Senior year, I'm taking pills almost every day. And then, a year out of high school, I had shot heroin, and that turned into an everyday thing really fast. And there was a lot of time I just didn't care about myself. I didn't care if I lived or died. I didn't care what other people think. Overdosing twice in one day, I went to rehab the next day, and you know, like the first week of rehab, I'm just in this daze, like feeling emotions I haven't felt in a month, like crying randomly. When I started doing drugs, it's like if you got pills, they were real pills. Now, if you're buying pills, you're getting some pressed pill that somebody's made, you know? Dude, you know, sometimes, like, at the detox, I see people bring in pills. Sometimes you can just tell, you're like, oh, that's fake, you know? That's a scary pill. Other times you can't. You know, fentanyl has weighed in, like micrograms, I think. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, just a milligram of something. It's like a couple of granules of salt, you know? So it's a lot. It's super potent. It's terrifying now. It's in everything.
My name is Randy White, former Dallas Cowboy, member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for all you football fans out there. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about my experiences with the opioids. First of all, I've never heard of fentanyl until this incident happened, but I lost my son-in-law to an overdose or poisoning. He took one pill and his knee was hurting him. They gave him a pain pill. A friend of his did. He went home and died. Jesse was a professional snowboarder, and they lived up in Snowmass, and we would go up to Aspen, and my little grandson, when he was little, as soon as he could walk, he was riding a skateboard and a snowboard, and seeing them two out there in the snow playing, and I couldn't participate because I couldn't do that, but that was some moments that were just, you know, unforgettable. All of these different pills, you can't tell the difference from the fake ones and the real ones. Don't stand on the sidelines. Get in the game. Get involved. And in order to get in the game, you got to educate yourself. You got to practice. You got to understand what's going on. And if you can do that as an educator, as a parent, as a grandparent, now the more knowledge you gain, the more confidence you're going to have in what you're doing. So gain knowledge, and when you talk to people, talk to kids, talk to grown-ups, you'll have confidence that you're doing the right thing.
Please talk with your children about staying away from drug use and the risks that it can bring. To all of my fellow Texans, we treasure your life. The first step toward ending the devastation starts with understanding what we're facing. Talk to your children, speak with your friends. Let's work together to end this epidemic.